Good morning, dears. Here I am again with the textbook Crossing the Borders, Malayalam Literature in English Translations. What is in plan for you today is the discussion of the question and answers from the poem Before Our Very Eyes, written by P. Ramachandran. So when you open the textbook at page number 129, you can see the comprehension question and also paragraph question and essay questions. Since this chapter is prescribed for classroom study, we have to be prepared with the essay, paragraph and a short answers. So let's begin. What's the first comprehension question? സോ ഞാനൊരു കാര്യം റിമൈൻഡ് ചെയ്യാണ്. നമ്മൾ എക്സാമിന് ആൻസർ പേപ്പർ നമ്മൾ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ പേപ്പറിൽ എന്തുണ്ടാവും, റൈറ്റ് ഇൻ വൺ സെൻറ്റൻസ് എന്നുണ്ടാവും ഷോർട്ട് ആൻസർ. അപ്പോൾ എന്ത് ചെയ്യണം, വൺ സെൻറ്റൻസിൽ എഴുതാണ്ട് നമ്മൾ 2 സെൻറ്റൻസസിൽ എഴുതി വെക്കാനായിട്ട് ശ്രദ്ധിക്കണം. ഷോർട്ട് ആൻസർ എപ്പോഴും 2 or 3 സെന്റൻസ് ആയിരിക്കും. അതിന് മേലെ പോകേണ്ട ഒരു ആവശ്യമില്ല. ചില കുട്ടികൾ എന്ത് ചെയ്യും, ഷോർട്ട് ആൻസേഴ്സ് അല്ല പാരഗ്രാഫ് എഴുതുന്ന പോലെ എഴുതും. അതിന്റെ ഒരു ആവശ്യമില്ല. ഡോണ്ട് വേസ്റ്റ് യുവർ ടൈം. 2 സെന്റൻസ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ 3 സെന്റൻസിൽ നമുക്ക് അത് എഴുതി വെക്കാം. Now coming to the first question. What is the first question? What was the reason for the derailment of the train? Answer. The reason for the derailment of the train was a wrong signal. The train halts at a country lane in a paddy field. The second question. Where did the train come to a stop after derailment? Answer. The train halts at a country lane in a paddy field. The accident occurs just at daybreak. Moving on to the third question. What do the Kyo curiosities represent? Answer. The Kyo curiosities represent the creatures occupying the place. These include birds, cats, squirrels, etc. Now the fourth question. What does the train in the poem represent? Answer. The train in the poem is a metaphor for modernism and urbanization. In general, it stands for many modern-day developments that destroy the beauty of a village. Moving on to the fifth question. Who all are disturbed by the sudden appearance of a derailed train in their midst? Answer. The derailed train disturbed all the creatures, including the dogs, squirrels, and the cats. The dogs began to bark at the unfamiliar sound, and the cats listened to it curiously. Now the sixth question. What happened to the AC sleeper coaches as a consequence of the derailment? Answer. The surface of the AC sleepers got damaged when the train was derailed by a wrong signal. The damage happened as by the big branches of the trees. Now moving on to the seventh question. What does the driver do after waiting for a long time for the signal? Answer. After waiting for a long time for the signal, the driver jumped down from the cabin. He then started to prepare his better leave. Now the next question, that is the eighth one. What happens to the derailed train at the end of the poem? Answer. The train is finally seen moving along the bank of the canal. A column of ants dragged it along. Now moving on to the ninth question. Can you suggest an alternative title to the poem Before Our Very Eyes? Answer. The title Before Our Very Eyes is really appropriate. An alternative title to the poem can be. സോ അങ്ങനെ പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് എന്ത് ചെയ്യാം, ഈ താഴെ കൊടുത്തിരിക്കുന്ന ടൈറ്റിൽസിൽ ഏതെങ്കിലും ഒരു രണ്ടെണ്ണം എഴുതാം, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒന്ന് എഴുതാം. സോ നിങ്ങൾ നിങ്ങളുടേതായ ആൻസറുമായിട്ട് വരിക, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇതിൽ ഏതെങ്കിലും ഒന്ന് എഴുതാം. ഫസ്റ്റ് വൺ എന്താണ്? ഡിറെയിലിംഗ് മോഡേണിറ്റി, എ ട്രെയിൻ അമംഗ് പ്രൊട്ടസ്റ്റേഴ്സ്, എ ട്രെയിൻ ഇൻ എ കൺട്രി ലൈൻ, rooting out the green, urbanization out of track, a green technological space, an industrial house, derailing trains, tracking modernity. Now come to the last question, that the 10th question. Cats arch the hairy bow of alertness. Identify a figure of speech employed in these lines. Answer. The figure of speech used here in this line is metaphor. Metaphor is a figure of speech in which a word or phrase is applied to an object or action to which it is not literally applicable. Now we have finished all the comprehension questions from the chapter. Now move on to the essay question. As I usually do, I have included almost all the paragraph questions and all of the paragraph questions, I can say, inside the essay itself. So let's read the essay questions first. The first one. Do you agree with the statement that the poem Before Our Very Eyes is an illustration of how the minute aspects of a reality are represented through simple but unexpected images? The second question. Attempt a reading of the poem Before Our Very Eyes as a critique on Kerala modernity and the accompanying concept of development. Now the third question, how does nature accommodate the derailed train in the poem Before Our Very Eyes? Now you note the idea how I have included the paragraph questions within the essay question itself. See, the second paragraph of the essay is the answer of paragraph question number 1 and 3 from the textbook. The third paragraph of the essay is the answer of paragraph question number 2 from the textbook. The fourth paragraph of the essay is the answer of paragraph question number 4 and 5 from the textbook. Now let's move on to the first paragraph, the introduction paragraph of the essay. The famous Indian critic Rohit Chopra writes, "No symbol of Indian modernity is more contested than the railways. The world we live in continuously goes through change. The villages in India and Kerala, where life was once portrayed as unchanging and idyllic, has in recent decades seen profound changes. Technology and development have come to a stage where human society finds itself at a crossroad. The positive as well as negative roles of technology have put humans into a situation of flux and confusion. In a P.P. Ramachandran, who was born in 1962 poem Before Our Very Eyes, the train appears as a symbol of technology and modernism in general. The poem is included in his collection Kane Kane that was published in 1999. Now we will move on to the second paragraph of the essay. As I said, the second paragraph of the essay is the answer of paragraph question number 1 and 3 from the textbook. Let's read paragraph question number 1. What do the train, its derailment, and its eventual halt at a country lane near a paddy field represent? The third question. Rail or country lane is a binary in the poem. What do they signify? Answer. From the Victorian period onwards, trains have been a topic of symbolic discussion. Railways and trains in particular appear as symbols of enlightenment and modernity in literature. In a P.P. Ramachandran's poem Before Our Very Eyes, a train appears as a curiosity among the serenity of the village life. Indeed, rail and country lane appears as a binary in the poem. The extremely calm nature of the village life is placed in opposition to the man-made symbol of modernity, that is, the train. Technology and developments have helped in the growth and development of the mankind as a whole. But one question remains not answered yet. Is technology really a boon to mankind? In the poem, P.P. Ramachandran seems not solve the problem either once he places nature and the train side by side. But his treatment of the subject is innovative, and he cunningly slips away without taking sides when a question arises whether development is good or bad. He leaves the matter to the readers to come up with an answer of their own. The poem begins with the strange incident that happened unexpectedly. A train derailed by a wrong signal halted at a country lane leading to a paddy field. The rural parts of India are blessed with unmatched natural beauty which brings us close to the nature. But it's shocking all these small lives living this serenity. When a train appears among them, we are reminded of the imminent threat to nature. The train is not at the center of modern experience and the collective imagery anymore. Many writers have discussed it, and it has gone as a worn-out topic. But even today, its presence remains strong in many popular literary genres, from crime novels and movies. When placed among the green lives of nature, the train appears as a binary of nature itself. The writer's aim is very clear. Through the symbol of the train, we have to understand the importance to save nature. He knows, like any of us, that the process of change is inevitable. Like us all, he defines that most of the modern day idea of change damages nature. Now we will move on to the third paragraph of the essay. As I said, the third paragraph of the essay is also the answer of paragraph question number 2 from the textbook. Let's read that question. How do the animals respond to the presence of the train in the midst? Answer. A P.P. Ramachandran's verse reflects the micro-politics of everyday life in Kerala. In a poem before our very eyes, he discusses the changing landscape of Kerala. Change is the single most widely discussed and written about issue which affects every facet of our life. In the poem, we see a group of different animals' reactions at the change a train's entry made to the quiet life. The derailed train disturbed all the creatures, including the dogs, the squirrels, and the cats. The dogs began to bark at the unfamiliar sound of the iron wheels. The poet sings. Cats arched their hairy baw of alertness. Then the writer says that the village raised its head at the coming of the strange guest. It becomes clear through this line that the very life of the village is the life of its nature and animals. They are not seen as separate entities. They form part and parcel of the village life, which has nothing artificial in its habitat. But when the train appears, it attracts the wonders of them all. These animals symbolize human beings who resist any sign of modernity. The writer says that a squirrel read out the names from the reservation chart of the compartment. It is ironic that no man whose name is not shown on the list of the compartment is given permission to enter that compartment. But when coming to the matter of the animal world, man breaks all his laws and restrictions. He recklessly encroaches into the world. The squirrel seems to laugh at this idea when he reads out the names. It is true that technology and developments have paved the way for better living standards, but its downside cannot be overlooked. The continual use of technologically advanced equipments as well as the process of the production has led to a drastic rise in all type of pollution. This pollution slowly rises as a possible threat to the ecosystem as a whole. Through the curiosities of the small creatures in the poem, the writer makes us think of it. He asks in a modest tone, what right we have to encroach into the habitat of these small lives. Thus, in a few deft strokes, P.P. Ramachandran's poem transfigures the mundane into the mysterious, the commonplace into the enchanted. Now we will move on to the fourth paragraph of the essay. As I said, the fourth paragraph of the essay is also the answer of paragraph question number 4 and 5 from the textbook. Paragraph question number 4 is, explain the lines, as we walked on, the scene grew stale, all too familiar. Paragraph question number 5 is, comment on the conclusion of the poem. Answer. Change is a natural process. It occurs every day, whether it is recognized or not. On the other hand, resistance to change is a grave issue, but the word change only seems constant. In P.P. Ramachandran's poem, Before Our Very Eyes, the animals finally seem to accept the process of change brought into the world by the entry of the train. That is why the poet says, as we watched on, the scene grew stale, all too familiar. The ending of the poem is noteworthy. The poem shifts from the initial curiosity to a final passive acceptance of the outsider, the train. The animal's behavior revealed that they have grown to like the presence of this new lifeless member. This is why the dog turned the train into a veranda by sniffing and pissing. The cats turned the baths into huts by curling and curving. It is clear that the presence of the train has now become a usual thing. That is why the writer passively says, "Don't know when the train received the green signal." Now it is seen moving along the bank of the canal. Its steam, smoke, and sound are not noticed by any longer. This literally tells us that the train and its sound has become a part of the daily life. The animal's initial smoke of resistance has subsided out. They have started to embrace a new object. That is why the ants finally drag the train along. This is the charm of P.P. Ramachandran's poem. His verse touches upon the deep layer of disquiet and silence that underlies contemporary Indian life. The poet believes that radical poetry is not about slogans, but about recasting the familiar world in a new formations. In the poem Before Our Very Eyes, this is what he achieves. Ramachandran's is a poetry of shifting meanings, of subtle menace and a sudden illumination. His eyes are wide open to the world around, and he sees how the world fully accepts the idea of technology and urbanization. Urbanization is a process that is inevitable nowadays, but the poet makes us think about the change that has happened to the plant and animal world around. This change, he feels, is not for any good because the train of technology is blind at the soft feelings of the green around. Kerala is currently undergoing through an extremely painful transformation. Reckless reclamation or conversion of paddy fields and wetlands has become a regular activity in Kerala. Over the last few decades, Kerala has lost hectares of wetlands and paddy fields legally in the nature of industry and infrastructure development. Now we will move on to the last paragraph, and I mean the concluding paragraph of the essay. Transformation is sometimes painful, but we are forced to accept most of the transformations that come under the name of developments and modernism. The poem acts as a reminder to us about all these problems. Technology certainly has given way to an improved lifestyle and contributed towards the growth of economics. But the amount of damage it has done to the environment as well as the mankind is a cause of serious concern. Now we have finished discussing all the question and answers from the chapter Before Our Very Eyes. I just request you please like the video if you feel it is useful, and also leave your comments in the comment box. We will meet again in the next class with the notes and discussions of some other chapters from the same textbook. Thank you so much. Have a nice day to all of you.